Welcome to Storytime at the Rubus, a weekly podcast about the Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival. I'm your host, Sharla.
And I'm Daniel. Hey, guess what, Sharla?
It's under 100 days till Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival.
Wow, she called me on that one. But yeah, if you are coming in on Tuesday, it's now 99 days. If you're coming in on Wednesday, it's 100 days. Maybe that figure is different now if you're listening to this a few days later. But yes, we are now officially on the home stretch to get back to the farm in June.
Yeah, it's something like 100, 99, 98, 97. I don't know. It depends on when you're listening.
We're getting there, yeah. You might be listening Tuesday. You might be listening Saturday.
And you might be counting it as starting on Thursday. So who knows? But we're there.
If you're Shayna, you have an app on your phone that tells you a countdown for literally everything. She's always the person I'll ask. Shayna, how many days is it? But yeah, I got to tell you guys, we talked about this on the podcast before, I think the week before last, whatever it was. This is the home stretch. I know it doesn't feel like it because in a lot of different places it's still cold. Like it's March right here, but it's still 50 degrees outside. I don't care for it. I'm ready for it to warm up. The days are getting longer. That's a sign that we're getting closer. But guys, listen, I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but we are getting into crunch time. You got to be getting up with your crew. You got to be getting up with your group. Start checking your supplies. We actually started working on the bus this past week. I think I really let things settle in when I was in there and started cleaning up for the first time.
Start drinking water now. And when Daniel said check your supplies, you need to start buying your supplies now so that you can buy it over time. So if you need to re-buy anything or replenish anything rather, start doing it now so that you don't have to do it the week of Bonnaroo and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Oh yeah, I'll give you an example. One thing that I found when I was cleaning up the bus was an old hydration backpack. And I looked at it and I looked how gross it was. And I was like, yeah, there's no saving this. I threw it out. So we might need a new one.
Oh, okay.
It had gotten all moldy. So yeah, that's one example of something to check. If you got one of those and it doesn't look too gross, now's the time to soak it. Put some hot water and soap in there.
Or however you clean those out, with the tablets or whatever.
I don't know. I'm not an expert.
There's ways to clean those out.
I don't run the place, man.
You don't run the place? Oh, okay.
I don't run the place. But yeah, it is kind of wild that like I officially started things this past week. I'm digging through the bus. I'm finding stuff that I didn't know that I had in there. A lot of goodies that people had left us last year that's been sitting there for 9 months, I suppose.
Yeah.
And yeah, Evan, I didn't find anything that you left there during South Star. I don't know if you were wondering about that or not. But yeah, I've got that going. We'll wash the sheets. I'll start pressure washing it when it starts warming up. We'll start doing the touch-up paint. We're getting there, man. Roost season is approaching. So I'm sure there are things that many of you need to be doing. It's that time, man. We're under 100 days. That's always kind of like the mental bookmark for me personally.
Yeah, same. I've been drinking water all day. So
really?
And I haven't drank water in like 3 years. So
I got to get on that too, man. We're all like turning into a dust. Just like when Thanos snapped his finger. That's how we're going to be because we're like dehydrated.
My kidneys like dry. I feel like they have been dry for like seriously like 8 months. And now they're like slowly coming back to life.
Oh, goodness. All right, Sharla, we've got a fun episode this week. We have our good friend Kara from up in the New York area on. We hung out with her a couple of weeks ago when we were in NYC. And I'm so glad that we did because like our paths have crossed many a time. But we haven't really spent a lot of time together until week before last. I ended up talking with her for like 2 or 3 hours while we were bar hopping.
Yes, Kara is amazing. And she is very, very, very knowledgeable about jam bands.
Yeah, I knew that she was like really heavy into the Goose scene. But as you're going to hear from our talk with her, she is heavy into the jam scene in general.
Exactly.
She had a really good suggestion for somebody to see at the Infinity stage that I didn't realize. I'm not going to spoil it. You'll have to listen to our talk with her to learn along with me who exactly that was. So that might end up being a must-see for me at the Infinity stage now. So we'll get to that here in just a few moments. But before we jump to that, we have a little bit of news about Totem stuff, right, Sharla?
Yes, absolutely. So the applications for the scholarships and the mentor/mentee program have closed. They closed at the end of February, and now we are starting to review those applications. So everyone who applied for a scholarship as well as for the mentor-mentee program, please check your email for a very important message from Daniel or myself.
Yeah, so we sent a few of those, and I'll tell you a quick summary of what I told everybody on the mentorship side. And I guess you can tell them yours on the scholarship side here in just a moment, too. We are starting to go through all of the applications for mentors and mentees. It is fun. It's a bit of work, but it is fun going through all of the applications and playing BFF matchmaker. We do make sure that we match people that are going to be compatible. So that's why we ask questions about like, what's your favorite genre of music? Do you like staying up? Do you like dressing up? So we're going to match people that will get along and be able to like, really hang out with one another once you get to Rue. It is a lot. I think we ended up getting around 60-ish mentee applications this year, if I'm remembering right. It's quite a bit. Does that number ring a bell for you?
No, there was about 60 mentee applications. So that means brand new Ruvians who've never been to Bonnaroo before.
Yeah, that's a big jump compared to last year. So we're really thankful. But also, it means a lot of work for me. So some of the matches will start going out here in about 2 weeks. I am aiming to get all of them out to everyone by the end of the month. Mentors, this is a message specifically for you. Once you're matched, get up with your match. Talk with them, see if you can schedule a phone call or whatever. We're also going to have a couple of online events in April where we do some fun games and icebreakers where everybody can get to know one another, in addition to telling you what we're going to do at Rue with Totem, right?
Exactly. We'll be having a couple of virtual events for that program, and hopefully it'll be even better than last year.
Oh, that's the plan, man. So, Sharla, tell them a bit about what's going on the scholarship side.
So for scholarship applicants, the main thing that you guys need to do right now is just absolutely keep a check on your email, because that's where we're going to be sending any pertinent information about finalists, or any communication is going to come through email. But also be sure, and this goes for scholarship applicants and the mentor/mentee applicants, join our Discord.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say that too.
That's where we're going to post information about Totem in general. And that's where we're going to be talking about Bonnaroo, getting ready for the 2025 Bonnaroo season. So make sure to join our Discord. And in those emails that we sent out, there is a direct link to join the Rubus Discord. I mean, in that Discord, we talk about Bonnaroo, 365 days a year. So come join us on that Discord and join nearly 700 other Bonnaroovians and just have a good time and talk Bonnaroo with us.
Yeah, we cut up about all kind of nonsense every day on there. And we've made a couple of new channels, one that's for Totem in general, but then there are specific ones for the mentors and mentees. So come in there and hang out. We'll have some specific information for you as time goes on. But again, please keep a check on your email, because you'll be getting a lot of information here in the next month. We'll double it up sometimes here on the podcast, also on Discord, but also the main thing is to check your email. And we'll have that virtual event at some point in April. More details to come on that. So a lot of fun stuff is going. That is another way that you can tell that Rue is getting closer now that we're getting everything rolling with Totem. That's part of our tradition now. This is year 2 for Totem. Do you want to call it year 2 or year 1, since last year was kind of a beta year?
No, this is year 2.
This is year 2? Yeah,
Yes.
I think we did everything in spades last year. So yeah, we can definitely say this is year 2. And we do have a board meeting coming up. Those of you that applied for scholarships, again, can't stress this enough, check your email, because the finalists that the ladies on our subcommittee that will be interviewing you will be in touch over email probably here in the next couple of weeks. And I can't wait to welcome our Totem class of 25. Y'all got some big shoes to fill, because we had a wonderful class for our first year last year.
Yes, absolutely. The class that we had last year, I've said it 1,000 times, but I just absolutely cannot brag on them enough. So you guys definitely have some big shoes to fill. I've glanced through the scholarship applications, and
They're pretty good, man.
oh, we've got some wonderful, wonderful applications out there. I mean, just truly amazing. So we're going to have a very, very, very tough decision to make this
Yeah.
year.
So the 3 of you that will be there, I am looking forward to it so much. We got a lot of fun stuff happening at our camp. One other thing, I didn't really prepare anything that I was going to say on this. I'm going to keep saying this every week. Those of you all over Rue, not just those of you that are involved with Totem, I have a challenge for you. I am making it my personal vendetta to bring a little bit of the Burning Man vibe to Rue this year. So I'm doing a couple of things at our camp. So like I'm doing a miniature version of the Talk to God phone booth. That's very popular at Burning Man. So you can find that at the bus. We're going to do something fun with that. But a couple of other things too. I want you to think about a fun, creative project that you can bring to the campgrounds this year. I think stuff like the Leave One, Take One kiddie pools are a great example. Let's kick it up a notch. What's something fun that you can provide to the community this time around? Can you think of any fun things that you saw in the Burning Man camps last year? That's
Oh,
a good
my
example?
goodness, there's so many fun things out there. Oh, here was something cool. And we actually went to it. So me and you went to a marriage advice little booth, and
Yeah.
it was like it was set up kind of like it was set up like a kissing booth almost.
It made me think of like Lucy's psychiatry advice in
Yes,
Charlie
yes,
Brown.
yes, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And you go in the booth, and they tell you like, hey, we're not psychiatrists, we're not therapists, we're only providing, advice based on our experiences, et cetera, and so forth. And it was just super cool. I mean, just to just to sit down and chat with. It was just a chat with friends.
I
That's
love
what it
that.
was. And just so super cool. I mean, just little things like that. And that's the kind of stuff you see at Burning Man. It's like everybody is giving back. But something else cool that we saw, and this was, oh my goodness, my heart. Okay, so Tycho always does a sunrise set at Burning Man.
I know where she's going with this.
So we go. We go out into the desert, and I'm talking like desert. So we go all the way out there. We ride our bikes all the way out there, and someone is out there making omelets and mimosas, and just handing them out.
It's like, here, man,
we're
have
sitting
this.
there with omelets and mimosas while Tycho is playing in the desert, and the sun is rising. Oh, it's at sunrise. The sun is rising, and just mimosas and omelets.
That was a good day, man.
Yes, so that was their gift. That was their gift to Burning Man.
Can you imagine? Like, I feel like there's a way that you could do something very similar at Rue, because, like, we'll get a sunrise set. We don't necessarily know who it's going to be just yet, but wouldn't it be funny if somebody was just, like, serving up little breakfast right outside the arch as you're walking back to camp while the sun's coming up? That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Find little gifts that you can give to the community. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like a physical thing, like an omelet or like little toys or something like that. A gift can just be a moment of positivity that you give to somebody.
A gift can be a hug. A gift can be like, oh, hey, I have chapstick. Do you want this chapstick?
Yeah.
And the chapstick doesn't need to have your brand or your logo on it.
So that is Daniel and Sharla's challenge to the community for this year. Think of something that you can do that elevates the experience for everyone else.
Exactly.
Some type of gift. All right, speaking of gift, we have a lot of gifters to this podcast and Totem by way of the Patreon. How do you like that for a segue?
That's amazing.
That just popped in my head, man.
Okay.
So again, for anybody that may be new, you can find us at patreon.com/Rubus, and 100% of everything goes to the Totem Foundation. So it is funding those scholarships that we talked about. It's funding our overhead so we can do the mentorship. It is going into our bank account so we can eventually do our international program. And the names that Sharla is about to tell you are the people who trust us, and we are very thankful for your trust in contributing to our Patreon.
Okay.
So you want to go for it?
Yes. Nick, Delaney, Molly, John with the Texas Roo Crew, Brady, I Am Rave Dad, Taylor, Courtney, Casey with the Texas Roo Crew, Christy, Charmel, Jones, David and Aurora, String Bean, Zach and Jeremy, Amber, Andrea, JB, Sam, Austin, James, Chelsea, aka Hygiene Queen, Ryan, Chris and Shy, Dan, Ernst, Harris, Keith, Casey, Andrew, Amanda, Nick, Maddie, McFerg, Kent, Randy, Bosco, Eric and Ben, Evan, Jay, Chloe, and Sean.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Again, you can find that at patreon.com/Rubus. 100% of everything goes to the Totem Foundation. I do have to give a couple of shout-outs. I once again shared dinner with the Cow Ladies out in Orlando this past week.
So Andrea and Delaney?
Yes, had a wonderful time with them. Andrea had some great ideas for how she can contribute to Totem. She's going to be on the board call with us.
Cool.
We're having that this Wednesday. More to come about that. You probably heard a bit from her. You did hear a bit from her because they did a guest takeover for us a while back. But she's got something cooking up. I'm going to let her tell about it before too long.
Okay.
Mentors and mentees, you will probably hear about it before too long as well.
And guys, if you have any ideas for Totem, again, join that Discord. It's the best thing that you can do. And go to the Totem channel on that Discord.
Yes, please do. And one other thing that I wanted to give an announcement about before we go over to our talk with Kara. So I wanted to give a plug for what Andrew and Maddie are doing. So you probably have heard on the show that they are plotting out the Wednesday party. And I'm not going to steal their thunder, but man, they have some fun stuff coming for the Wednesday party at Rue this year. They are doing a fundraiser for the Wednesday party. So Thursday, April 17th in Atlanta, they are doing a show at the Star Bar. So it is going to be that Thursday the 17th. It is on Moreland Avenue in Atlanta. And Andrew has posted it as an announcement on our Discord. Charlie, can I trouble you to post that on our socials later
Sure,
too?
of course.
So if you're in the Atlanta area, they're going to have a couple of bands. Nobody's Darlings is one example. I'm familiar with them. They're going to be there. Ellis Daniel, not me, another Daniel DJ is going to be there with some EDM stuff. So again, Thursday, April 17th, Moreland Avenue in Atlanta. Go to that if you can. I think the proceeds from that will be funding the Wednesday party because, guys, they got some crazy stuff happening at the Wednesday party this year. I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah, we won't spoil it, but
Yeah. There's one. Yeah, I'm going to shut my mouth.
Yeah.
I'm going to say too much. All right. Before I say too much, Charlotte, would you like to jump over to our talk with Kara?
yes, I'm ready.
Yes, and we'll be back after that with a bit more. But for now, let's go talk to the mayor of Goose Town herself. Hey everybody, we're back and we have a friend that I think a lot of you may know and should know if you don't already. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kara. Many people know me as the Goose fan, Goose girl, who has been on this pod before in the past to talk about mostly Goose and the jam scene a little bit. And haven't been to Bonnaroo in a couple years, but I am always happy to be the Goose expert and come in and chat about Goose and anything jam band related.
I think the last time we hosted you at the farm was 22, if I remember right, because I remember hanging out with you briefly after Flip Turn played near the bus.
Yeah.
Yep. 22, and then I think I was at 23. Yeah, so I was there at 23 too, but I didn't see you guys too much. But I did stop by and say hi.
There were a lot of misadventures and side quests in both of those years. I do remember seeing you briefly after that, but you're right. You were camped in GA, or where were you camped last time?
23, we were in the back camping, the area nine, what is it? Area
Oh yeah.
9. Yeah, the back premium camping. We somehow snagged tickets, and that was really cool. But nobody saw us because we like had a very luxury experience going back and forth to our campsite and not having to go through security or anything. So it was great.
See,
We
that's
went through security. I shouldn't say that. We did go through
yeah,
security.
probably a bit louder right there.
Oh, I'm
But
sure.
yeah, that's the downside of being camped in that area. I've talked with our good buddy MGZ out of Atlanta about that before. She was one of your neighbors out there in that section. And you're right, you mentioned it. It's hard to get out and meet your other Rue neighbors when you're kind of back there in your little luxurious corner, I suppose.
Yeah, it took us a couple of days to figure out that we could walk to Where in the Woods by walking around versus walking all the way through
Yeah.
all the way through the Bonnaroo and then all the way over. But apparently you can walk around, and it took us pretty much the entire festival to figure that out until like the last night when we were so tired. We're like, oh, we can walk around the backside. I think it's Production Road, the
Yeah.
back way. But we figured that out. I don't know if that's how the future is, if they're going to do that this year again, but it took us way too long to figure that out, and very disappointed that I had to do all that walking.
Now, there's somebody from Rue or C3 that's hearing you say that right now and be like, what? They did that? We need to fix that. You just ruined it
Yeah.
for everybody.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's probably not the case. But it is
I mean,
weird how
a lot of people are doing it, so.
you figure out shortcuts after you've been at Rue for like 2 or 3 days. After everybody fills in, you kind of get a feel for the place. Like I always find a shortcut through the RVs from the bus over there to the disco ball tower and shave off about 5 minutes, you know?
Yeah, and I think it helped, like, when you're in GA camping too, or like out in the other camping, you also kind of figure out like the pathways that people have created. Like that,
Yeah.
you could take the roads for sure, but then there's like an RV that moved closer to another RV, or a campsite that moved their tent so they're closer so you could walk
Yeah.
through. And I've always lucked out with my campsites at Bonnaroo though. Like in 22 we were in ADA camping, and we basically had a giant backyard because we were like up against the fence, so we had like three camping sites worth of space just because of where we ended up on the corner.
Yeah.
So we basically just like made a huge campsite and people just came and partied. It was great. It's like we had so much space.
Now, wait, I got to point something out before we go further. Like, this is audio only, so nobody will be seeing this, but you're joined by somebody else. I just saw their snout come into the video
Oh,
frame a moment ago.
yes, my dog Brooklyn is here. Shares a name with other Brooklyn,
Yes.
which is always very exciting. She likes to come say hello anytime I'm on Zoom. She thinks
We
that
love
people
it.
are talking to her, and that's just how it is.
Well, we love
So,
human Brooklyn and dog Brooklyn.
yes, we do.
One day the two will meet. They were within 5 or 10 miles of each other just a couple of weeks ago. We should have made that happen.
Yeah, next time we'll do like something during the day and like do a meet and greet.
Maybe next year. Yeah. So we're going to get into like Goose and fun stuff like that in a moment. I want to hear the viral story from the Phish show also. But one thing I did want to ask you about and hear about are some of these other festivals that you have been hitting up or are going to hit up. You and I talked about this a bit at the Village when we were there together a couple of weeks ago, but I wanted to hear from you on the show. Like, what have you had and what have you got coming up?
Yeah, so last year I took a break from Bonnaroo because I decided to go to a little more niche festivals. Me and my partner went to Bisco Land in Wonderland Forest in upstate New York. As it was over 4th of July weekend, it was just a small Disco Biscuits festival. There's some other bands like Disco, a small jam band that's kind of funky. They're kind of up and coming. I think they played Bonnaroo last year, if I'm correct. But they're kind of up and coming. They played a set there. I want to say the Magic Beans might have been there. I could be wrong. I don't really remember. But it was a tiny festival in the woods. And when you like say camping, like it is roughing it camping. Like you're out in the woods, like a mile away. Your campsite is like like you have I'm not good with space, but you have like an actual campsite. Like if you were like with a big family, you have 10 people's worth of space for like two people. It's great.
Oh, that's cool.
And then there's like a waterfall there. So during the day when the festival's not going, you just go down to the waterfall and stuff like that. One thing I have to say about that festival is that there is like a noise ordinance. So they shut down quote unquote at like 11, but they did a really good pivot where they um, did a silent disco after 11. So they
Oh,
had the
that's a
bands
good
come out
idea.
and play with silent disco headphones. A lot of people who were there were, of course, it's like kind of last minute, wasn't what we expected. So people were disappointed, but I actually like, from a business aspect of music festival, I actually thought it was like a really cool pivot. Um, I've kind of talked about that a little bit over the last year with some major Disco Biscuits fans, like OG fans, and they're all, they kind of agree. They're like, yeah, kind of in the moment, it was kind of disappointing, but if you think about it, it was actually really creative. Um, so I did that last summer, and then Mondegreen. I went to Fish Festival, um, which I at that point I'd only seen Fish 4 times, or I guess 8 times at that point.
Only
Um,
8 times. Yeah.
yeah, which for Fish fans that's
Right.
not very much. I'm still a
Yeah.
newbie. Um, but that's a world of its own. But I have to say, like, I see the connection with Bonnaroo. Like
Yeah.
the community at a fish festival at Mondegreen, it was, I mean, everybody's a lot older now, but I met so many people who have been to the first Bonnaroo because Fish played. Like it was a fish festival. Bonnaroo is like the first fish fest. What not I shouldn't say Bonnaroo is the first fish festival, but Bonnaroo was a fish festival back then.
Yeah.
Um, and so many people went to the first Bonnaroo and they just brought that culture and it was so similar. A lot of people had the same, the Bonnaroo code and like a lot of people followed that in their own way. It was incredible. It was a lot of fun. Every festival, there's hiccups here and there, but it was really cool, and they did the festival at the old Firefly venue, which I'm pretty familiar with because I've been to Firefly a few times. And it was actually kind of set up the same as Firefly, so I kind of was like, I knew everything and where parking was, where camping was. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was trippy. It was really, the secret set was amazing. Um, just really cool. It was really awesome. So that's where I've been. This year, probably not going to Bonnaroo. Like, unless something changes in my life, I wish I could go. Um, but I am going to All Good Now. I think it's all good now, which is the same weekend as Bonnaroo, and it's
Yeah.
in at Merriweather Post Pavilion. I always say it wrong. Merriweather, and it's in Baltimore. It's more of a day festival. Goose is playing. Disco Biscuits will be there. So it's more of a jam festival, and it's a day festival, and I don't have to camp. So I had to make a pivot this year, but
I
um,
always remembered the name of that venue from what was the name of that band? Gosh, I'm embarrassed myself. It was well over 10 years ago that they played at Bonnaroo. They do a song called Meriwether Post Pavilion. It'll hit me later when I'm not thinking of it. Everybody listening to this is like, he's crazy for not remembering this right now. I do want to go back to something that you said about the Phish Festival, Montegreen. So, like,
yeah.
we've talked about this backstory. Not everybody may have heard this before. A lot of the backstage DNA is shared between those Phish, old school Phish festivals and Rue, because a lot of the people that were running everything behind the stage back in the day came to start Bonnaroo off in the early 2000s. So I'm curious, now that you have been to their most recent one and you have been to Rue relatively recently, do you still feel like there's kind of like a close exchange of like how they are put together, how they feel, and everything? Are they still not that dissimilar?
I think vibes are similar. I think as far as like Bonnaroo, the music choices that the festival is making, which I don't disagree with. I very much am a big fan of the lineups the last few years. They've moved away from the jam scene, right? They're not. It's still a party. It's still fun. It's still good vibes all around. But it's definitely like as far as like the festival itself, the things that they do at the festival, having weird setups. Like
Yeah.
Mondegreen had this thing called the Serialist Bar, which is like an area in the woods where people are like in costume and dancing, and like there was like codes. Somebody walked up to you, it was like trying to get you to do a riddle so you could go into like a bar in the
What?
back. Yeah, like it was
I
so
love
weird, and he'd
that.
like come up to you and like tell you to go find somebody who had the next part of the code, and he just like picked random people to do that too. Like stuff like that is like you know the things that you want to see at Bonnaroo. And I think a lot of that's the same. Like the vibes are still there. But I think as far as like the business side goes, also Phish is like, they want to make money and they're also interested in the business side of it, and they kind of took a different path, I think, a little bit with their festival.
That makes sense.
Um,
I would like to come
yes.
visit one of those one of these days. Have you heard any rumors about when the next fish festival might be?
No, people thought maybe this year they would do another one because at the end of the festival, the app closed down and it's like, see you next year. So people like, it's a clue, it's going to happen. We would know by now if it was happening.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think a lot of the people I've been around usually say like every 2 to 4 years there's a festival or something big. So like they had big year last year. I mean, they did Sphere, they did Mondegreen. They did, you know, New Year's Eve, they did the Gamehenge, which is like their
Yeah.
big, yeah, their skit for the year. Um, so yeah, I mean, last year was pretty big for them. So I think this year it seems like they're kind of slowing down a little bit this year. So I don't think we're seeing a festival. At least that's what I'm hearing and
Yeah.
thinking, but
Well, that
you
makes
never know.
sense. That makes sense that they would want to take a big break after such a big year. By the way, the band that I couldn't think of, it was Animal Collective. It had been a
Oh,
long time
okay.
since I'd listened to them. That's who I was thinking of. They have a song named after that venue. All right, so we're gonna move on to Goose here in just a moment, but since we're talking
Sure.
about Phish, can you tell everybody real quick about the silly viral story about from that one Phish show?
Yeah, it was my first Phish show. I'm pretty sure I've been quoted on this podcast, or I've actually said this on this
Yeah,
podcast.
it's been a
I
while though. Yeah,
Yeah, I've been asked. No, not this story, but I've definitely been asked if I like Phish. And I used to not. I used to be like, I got into Bonnaroo not because of jam music. I really like the EDM scene. I'm like more into indie rock, and that's like how really got into Bonnaroo, and going to mixed genre festivals. But I got into Goose a few years ago, and people are like, "Oh, do you like Goose or do you like Phish? Phish is the band you need to see. Do you like Grateful Dead?" I'm like, like Phish is like okay, whatever. But I always said if somebody took me to a concert and bought my ticket, I would go. Like I will never turn down a free show. And my neighbor, Jordan, who's an incredible human being, he also went to the first Bonnaroo, been around. Um, he was like, I'll take you. Like, and of course he's a super fan. I call him my Phish Sherpa. He got the best seats in MSG, like hands down, like facing the stage. If you've ever been to MSG, like the one, I think it was like section 102, which is like facing the stage, like right on. So you see
Yeah.
everything. Um, and I go in and I'm like, okay, so I do silly things with jam bands. I try to make an experience, and I was like, what can I do that would just be really keep me involved, but also like be silly? I was like, oh, I'm gonna make up the set list. And just because I don't know any songs, like I know maybe a couple that I've heard over time, but I was like, I'm just gonna make up a set list. Um, and so I made up a set list that night, and we posted it on what was formerly Twitter X, and it went viral. It ended up on Reddit. I ended up on Facebook groups. It ended up everywhere. And so I kept doing it. People kept giving me tickets to keep going back. They're like, please do this another night. I have a ticket. Please go. So I ended up doing my first four shows at MSG. 2 summers ago, where I just did fake set lists. I've now done it for Disco Biscuits, and that's how my now partner found me on the internet and slid into my DMs because he thought it was really
What?
funny.
I didn't know that part.
Oh,
Yeah, he's a big Disco Biscuits fan, and I did it for the Disco Biscuits, and he saw them and he was like, hey, I saw your Phish set list and I love that you're doing it for the Biscuits. Are you going to be at MSG for New Year's? And I was like, yeah, I'll be around. So he ended up sliding into my DMs and he found me at
oh,
MSG, and that's how we started dating. So,
That's amazing.
um,
yes.
One of these days,
yeah.
it'll be like, how did you guys meet? Like, well, funny story.
Yeah, well, our short story for people who don't understand the internet and like understand the jam scene, how we all connect on the internet these days, it's he slid into my DMs. Like that's the short story. Um, but also Brownie from the Disco Biscuits, who's the bassist, he encouraged it. He was like, I that night, the first night I did it for the Biscuits, he was like, I posted it. He was like, I've been waiting for this all night. That was his response, and he was like so excited about it. And then he slid in my DMs the next day, and he was like, "Thank you so much for doing that. It was really funny. Please keep doing it." And I can't do it with the Biscuits. I can still do it a little bit. For Phish, I can't because I'm sorry. I've
Yeah.
learned all the songs, most of the songs. There's still a lot I don't know, but with the Biscuits, they just keep playing. So I just kind of yes, I don't even know what they're playing. So I'm just like, this sounds kind of familiar. I'm going to call this one Rocket Ship. And they do have a song called Rocket Ship, but usually it's not the one I choose. But
I'm going to
but
assign you to a King Gizzard show so you can like make up song names for theirs.
so Kinkas would be hard because I know a lot of Kinkas.
Ah,
Like
okay, okay.
I know like I mean I would say probably I still probably won't know half of them, but like I've listened to their whole all of their albums at this point. So I would recognize some of them, I
Like, well,
think.
this one's about an acid trip while you time travel or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I had some pretty good ones. I what people like kept quoting that was really funny was I called a song from Phish Toad, and it like they're like, this makes sense. It's the like this should be the real name, and I was like, I don't know. Maybe that was what I felt in the moment. People ask me like, what were you thinking in the moment? I'm like, I don't remember. I just like that's how the feeling I had in the moment. I don't know.
No, I know what you mean. I saw them for the first time since they played Bonnaroo back in 19 when they came here last summer and kicked off their tour in Huntsville. And I ended up going to both shows. And like before, I was like, yeah, I like Phish all
Yeah.
right. But then after those two shows, I was like, oh, I get it now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same here.
Because
Yeah.
I was
Um,
distracted and didn't pay attention when they were here in 19. I just went for like a half hour of each of those sets. But I was there for a good chunk of both of them here in Huntsville. And I'm like, oh, I wouldn't say that I'm one of the converted, but I was like, oh, I certainly understand the cult now.
yeah, that first show, I turned to my friend Jordan and I was like, all right, I get it now. Like that's those are words I used. I was like 3 songs in, I was like, all right, you win, I get it. Like I will come back. I a big super fan like I am with Goose? No, but
You're getting
I
there.
I'll be around. Like I'll see their shows. Like they just dropped their summer lineup and they're playing 2 nights at Forest Hills. Me and my partner got tickets like immediately. We're like, we have to go.
Nice.
Am I going to travel for Phish more than just like a festival? Probably not. Unless I'm a lot of friends are going or something, maybe we'll do like, they're not doing Dick's this year, but they're doing Folsom in Colorado. So we might do that because that's more of like a longer weekend kind of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, no major traveling for Phish, but Goose, that's another
Goose,
story.
definitely. Well, that's a good segue because
It
that's
is.
why you're here tonight, because you are the foremost expert that I know of on Goose. And I feel like they have been underserved in the conversation on Rude this year, because I feel like not only is it a big get, because I really feel like they are just like on a huge
Uh-huh.
upward trajectory right now, but also they're coming your way right after we have them to the festival that you're going to at All Good.
Yep.
So I wanted to catch people up. So I guess my first question for you, because you are the expert on this, why is it, do you think, that they have just skyrocketed in popularity in like the past year and a half, maybe 2 years?
I think there's a few reasons. They tour all the time. They're just always touring. So like they the last couple of years they did, I could never tell you how many. I'm not a stats person, but they've done like every tour they're doing, 4 or 5 nights in 4 or 5 nights in a city. That's too much. Like 3 nights in a city, 2 nights in a city. So people are coming out and seeing them. Um, the conversation is happening right around it. So people are bringing a friend. Like that's just usually
Yeah.
how it's going. It's like bring a friend, and then that person gets converted, right? They've done a lot of festivals, right? They did Electric Forest like last summer, I think. They, yeah, just they've been on this festival circuit a lot, which I think brings a lot of people in, especially because they're a super fun band and they play a good show. And then they've also, they just released a couple singles, so they're also going into a new album, so they've been trying to pump that up a lot. Also their music's really accessible. Like
Yeah.
that's it too. I think that's like a major part is like people be like, "Hey, check out this YouTube video of this cool band," and they pass it along, right? And I think the accessibility of them makes it really a big part of how they've blown up over the last few years since last Rue that they played. It's really just the accessibility. And by the way, if anybody wants to like check them out before Bonnaroo, um, check out the last Bonnaroo set. That's what I always tell people to watch.
Okay.
Go on YouTube and go watch it because that's a really good intro to Goose. They play a lot of their big songs, and it's just really fun. It's a big party. So
I think as part of that accessibility goes, them being heavily featured on Nugs is another thing. It seems like every show that they
yeah.
do is live streamed on there. I
Mhm.
think that does a lot to endear them to the jam band community and kind of like the wider community as well. I can tell you my anecdotal experience. The last time I saw them was back September, October, whatever it was, in Nashville. They played the Ascend Amphitheater.
Mhm.
And I talked to our mutual friend Evan after the fact, and he was like, "That was the best set I've seen from them in a long time." For whatever reason, they seemed to really bring it in Nashville that night. Evan thought that they were using some pedals that they had just picked up at Third Man Records down the road in Nashville over there. I don't know, maybe that was just one factor into it. Maybe Nashville's a little inspiring, but that was an amazing show. And I feel like if that is an example of what they were doing on that tour, that is a big explanation as to how they're winning so many friends. Because it's like what you said too. Somebody's like, "Hey, I love this band. Here's a ticket. You want to go with me?" I think that's a big factor in that kind of thing as well. But you were telling me something cool when we were hanging out in the village a couple of weeks ago. They have some new stuff that we pretty much expect for them to have at Rue, right? Tell us a little bit about what you were telling me.
Yeah, so there's been a kind of some changes with Goose in general. They had a change in their drummer. So they have a new drummer starting. He started last year. His name is Cotter. He has changed the sound of the band. So there's that first. I would like want to throw that out there is like the band has just kind of changed their sound generally. But usually every tour, or maybe like every other tour, they're changing their light rig. And right now they're using a light rig, and they could change it before Bonnaroo. We don't know. Like they're gonna have another tour. They're doing Mexico before that. They're using what I call light curtains. I don't really know what else they're called, but they're essentially lights that like kind of come up from the bottom of the stage and the top of the stage, and they just kind of like hide the band, but you also see the lights above. And so the light rig's going to be incredible, especially if they're we don't know what stage they're going to be on. If they're on one of the bigger stages, that would be really really cool. I think they're too big for a tent now, but We'll
Definitely too
see.
big for a
Yeah.
tent.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
agree.
It's going to have to be on what or which. I'm hoping that they are going to get the pre-headliner slot on what, but I don't know. We're just being speculative at this point. We won't know for another month.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see them doing which stage too. I think like everybody in my circle has kind of bet on that. They're kind of like, yeah, we think the which stage, but
Yeah.
you never know. They could get a primo spot on what, who knows. Preferably they need a night set. They need a like after the sun goes down.
Yeah.
I don't like Goose outside in the summer. It's my it's my least favorite thing because you only get like an hour of the lights. Um, their light show is incredible. Their lighting director is called his name is Andrew Getty. So if you ever hear people talking about Getty, that's him. He's incredible. Like he just does such a good job. He's right on par with Kuroda. I think he's Kuroda is Phish's like light rig guy.
Yeah.
Um, like I can't wait for MSG just to see how he takes over the light, the spaceship essentially. It's gonna be really cool. So
Yeah, it is a shame that we won't have him for late night, but it was just going to be impossible because they've got to get up your way for all good. So
yeah.
realistically, we're just lucky to have them at all. How has their set list been looking lately? What do you think we can expect?
Oh, that's so hard. That's so hard. I
Is
think
it kind of
so.
all over the place?
It can be. Goose does try to mix it up, like because they played Bonnaroo a few years ago. They might not play a lot of those songs again. So I believe, if I can remember, I know they played Dripfield. They
Yeah.
played. I want to say they played Fish in the Sea, which Fish in the Sea is just it's an amazing cover that they do, and it would be amazing to see again at Bonnaroo, but I doubt they'll play it because it's pretty rare nowadays.
Yeah.
Um, and then or I think they played Arcadia that night too. I don't think I don't know. Like we could get them. They could just be like, we're just gonna bust out all of our hits. They're
Yeah.
also gonna be on the tail end of their album dropping, which is coming out in April. So I think they'll probably play a few songs from their new album, give it time. So expect that. We're gonna have a few songs on there. So
Have they been doing many covers lately?
um it depends on the show. It really does. I think they're playing fewer covers, I would say, but they still play their same covers that they usually do. Fish in the Sea is a pretty common one. They do a lot of Dead covers. Tennessee Jed just is one that comes to mind because every time
Makes sense.
I hear it,
Yeah.
I'm like, I love this song. I don't want to hear this song right now. It'll be summer, so they might play some more Dead. We'll see. Um, my one of my other favorite covers from them is Sitter Man, Nina Simone cover. They've been playing that one pretty heavy lately, and it's so good. So check that out.
So there was another band that you wanted to give a shout out, and literally when we were like talking before we started recording, I put two and two together on who this was, and I did not know. I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable most of the time, but this was a new one on me. Could you tell everybody else what you schooled me on tonight?
Yeah, yeah. So I was talking about the Disco Biscuits a little bit earlier, and I went to their festival. The Infinity Stage, they're I guess you call them instrumental, but basically their version of an instrumental band is called Tractor Beam. And basically they're going to get up there and just play a straight set of electronic jam music. And then it's going to be a lot of Disco Biscuit songs and like they do a lot of samples. I absolutely would recommend going to check them out if you want a cool light experience plus a jam experience plus EDM experience without the vocals. Like the Disco Biscuits aren't really known for their vocals, so this is kind of a break from that. So I
Well,
would highly recommend going.
okay, look, I didn't want to be the one to point it out, but like, why is it that outside of the Dead, and half the time this is the case for them too, and definitely does not apply to Goose because Rick sounds
Yeah.
fantastic, but why
Yeah.
do most jam bands have vocalists that are just kind of like, that's always the case.
Yeah, I still have never figured it out because I prefer vocals. Like I love vocals and music. But I think a lot of it has to do with like they care more about the guitar. They want the guitar to do the singing,
Oh,
right? In
yeah.
jam bands, like that's kind of what I've picked up on and kind of learned over my years. Like the lyrics, I think Goose is very different with that. Like Rick has amazing lyrics. Rick has, not saying he writes all the lyrics, but his vocals are great. He's actually a good singer. Um, I don't think jam bands want you to care so much about the lyrics. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I guess maybe like if it's a really heartfelt song, but usually it's going to be a little more, it probably won't be a jam song if they're going to play something like that.
Yeah,
They'll,
I
you
mean,
know,
I'm not going to throw any specific band under the bus, pun not intended, but like there's a good handful, and we all know who it is. We probably don't have to name them, where the vocals are just like, it's okay, you know?
yeah,
Um,
I'm not ashamed to say disco biscuits.
yeah,
Their lyrics, like some of their lyrics are kind of cool, like the way they write their songs. Their vocals, I struggle a little bit listening to them. Like I'll skip through some of the vocals
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
Um, I've gotten used to it, and so people told me just like give it time and you'll get used to it, and I have. So like it's not so bad anymore.
Yeah.
But that's what Tractor Beam is. Essentially, it's going to be a lot of sampling. They're going to play a lot of their own songs, but just the jam part with the EDM mix in. It's really cool. So highly recommend if you've never seen a Tractor Beam set.
I feel like that might be one theme of Rue this year because like Tractor Beam is a good example, and
Hmm.
there's a high probability that we're going to get like kind of the synth or rave set, whatever you want to call it, from King Gizzard
Yeah.
one night as
Oh,
well.
absolutely.
So it is cool that so
It'll
many
be so
bands are
sad.
able to. Oh, I know, I know.
I'm gonna
It,
be
it-
so bummed I'm missing it. I'm already disappointed.
oh, well, I would say come on down, but it's going to be tough to be in two different places at once that weekend. But
Yeah,
we haven't worked on the portals yet. We'll get there one of these days.
yeah, one day.
One of these
Get
days.
on that.
I'll say it again. Kara, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.
I'm so happy that we got to spend a couple of hours with you up in NYC a couple of weeks ago because, like, it seems like every time I run into you at a festival, we're both distracted with side quests and such, and only have like 5 or 10
Yeah.
minutes to hang out. So it was great to have a couple of drinks at a couple of different places. By the way, this is weird. That flower shop place that we all went to for the afters after the totem event, that was one of the go-to places in New York that weekend because apparently a bunch of the Saturday Night Live cast was hanging out for their like afters after they did their show.
I had no idea, but that's
Yeah.
awesome. Like
So
that was a cool spot. I've never been there before that
that,
night. I'm definitely gonna go back.
shout out to Evan for finding it. Like we talked
Yeah.
about this when we did that live episode. It's like you basically time travel to the 70s, late 70s, early 80s when
Yeah.
you go down there. And like, look, this is weird, but you remember that one bar where you got me on that one drink? What was it?
Oh,
The spit?
the Aperol
Yeah,
Spritz.
yeah. That was pretty good. Uh I don't know if you remember, but that bar downstairs, there was that big dude that was the bartender, and there was a Crocodile Dundee, like the Australian movie. There was a poster for that. 2 days later, I look and I see Boy and Yang like drunk off his ass, like down there at the exact same spot.
Oh no,
We were hanging out
we
there.
missed him.
Yeah.
Was he drinking Aperol Spritz?
Oh, I'll have to go back and check the
Yeah,
receipts. Well, they posted it on their Instagram. That was such a cool place.
it
That all
was.
right. From now
It's
on,
cool.
when we're up in the city, that's where we're all meeting up. That's the place.
Also, we tried to
Yeah,
order
and
Aperol spritz here, and it sucked. So,
Yeah.
does it? Oh no. Wait until the summer. It's kind of off season right now. But also you should take my tradition and do the Aperol Spritz bar at Bonnaroo, because
Oh,
I won't be there. Aperol Spritz brunch.
we could
oh,
have one in your
yeah,
honor at the Monkey
yeah,
Bar.
we will.
Yes.
Do that.
Wait, for the uninitiated, tell everybody what goes in one of
Yeah.
those.
It's prosecco. Um, in France, it's usually champagne, but it's prosecco, Aperol, grapefruit or orange. Some places do it different, and then just a slice of orange. I think there might be something else in there, but some maybe orange bitters, maybe depending on where you do it. Um, but I would just buy the pre-made stuff because they have like the pre-made bottles and just pour it into a jug because obviously you can't bring glass in and
Oh,
everything is glass.
I
So
didn't know that.
I just
Okay.
bought the pre-made bottles of it and then just like poured it because you could buy the Aperol Spritz, like they're just, regular like bottles, they're glass bottles, whatever. Pour it into water bottles and then you have it. That's what I did. It's like can't bring the glass in.
Yeah. Some of
So
those pre-made or canned cocktails are not that bad sometimes. Like everybody that knows me knows that like an old fashioned is my go-to. And our hotel that we stay at in New York had like a can and it was better than some bars I've been to. So I
Oh,
tell you what, we're gonna get
yeah,
some of those
yeah.
and have them in your honor the day that Goose plays
please,
on.
Yeah.
Yes.
please,
We'll
please,
see
please,
what they
please.
do. Yeah.
And send me pictures or post them at least so I can see them if you
Yes,
have
ma'am.
internet, because that's always a problem. But
Well, yes, man. Well, Kara, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight. We appreciate you. And
yeah,
hopefully it's not
absolutely.
until we're in New York this time next year till we see you again.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so.
You
Well,
could
keep our fingers crossed.
make a last minute run to the Sphere with us here in about 2 months. I'm just saying.
What are you saying at Sphere?
Oh, we're well,
Not
me and
me.
yeah,
I work.
me and Evan and Maddie and some others, and Shayna, who was on the show last week. We're going to see Dead and Company at the Sphere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, run with
Yeah,
us.
maybe. I mean, tickets last year were just like they couldn't sell enough, so maybe I will just fly out there and do it. Maybe. We'll talk. We'll
We'll
talk.
talk. All right, thank you, Kara. We appreciate you.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Kara. That was so awesome. I didn't even realize that Tractor Beam was Disco Biscuits.
No, I had no clue whatsoever.
Did not know that.
Yeah, I'm not that plugged into the jam band scene. I've been paying more attention to Goose because of her and Evan and some other friends that have got me into him the past couple of years. But stuff outside of Dead and Company and Goose, I need to be schooled on a little bit more. So I'm glad she was here to tell us this kind of stuff.
I was really, really into Goose the first year that they played at Bonnaroo. And then I honestly haven't listened to him in a while, so I definitely need to get back into him for this year.
Okay, well, I guess we're going to that show together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's got to be a thing. We're going to get to our weekly picks here in just a moment, but there was something that came up today that I thought would be worth a thought experiment. So Brad, that runs the show, Brad, popped into the Festiverse Discord today and was asking around, who do you think should play a Rue residency in 2026, next year? So, first of all, it looks like they want to continue that as a thing, but they're looking for ideas for who would be good next time around.
You're just going to say Tame Impala.
Well, no, okay, no. I mean, yes, that would be cool, but realistically, it would be very difficult because that would be a little too expensive, and I don't know if Tame Impala could come up with 3 different sets. They pretty much stick to one set list for their whole tour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I did suggest Flaming Lips. I think that is one of the more logical choices. Can you think of anybody who would be good for a residency?
Garth Brooks. No, I'm just
Garth
kidding.
Brooks. Well, he does have a lot of hits. That does make sense. I can see it.
No, I honestly don't know. I missed that whole conversation. I was busy at work, so.
Well, a lot of us were talking different possibilities. So LCD Sound System is a good one. They're probably not.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah, they're probably not a really expensive booking, and they do a lot of residencies. They do
That's
those
true,
things
yeah.
where they play multiple boroughs in New York.
What about MMJ?
Yeah, Evan brought that up. My Morning Jacket would be fantastic. They have a huge catalog and hardly ever repeat a set list. What's up?
What about Old Crow?
I suggested that one as well.
But I don't know if they're popular enough. I don't think that would sell tickets.
Well, I mean, maybe that's true, but they have a long history at Rue.
Yeah.
And they're just up the road. Catching the Boys live just an hour and a half up the road in East Nashville. Yeah, they would be a good pick. I don't know if they would be a big ticket seller like some of these other bands that we're mentioning, but it would be a big fit.
Yeah.
It would make a lot of sense, as Brad seems to like to say. But yeah, those are my thoughts. So I did think it was news that Rue intends to have a residency every year, and I love that they're looking for suggestions. Mine is Flaming Lips. I think it makes a lot of sense. They haven't been there in 10 years. They play all kind of different stuff. They will do full shows of their albums. They play album covers of other bands. They've done Pink Floyd and stuff like that in the past.
Do you think My Morning Jacket would be popular enough?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay, so true story. My Morning Jacket played in Huntsville, and it was not even a third full. They played the amphitheater.
That was a
in
little
Huntsville.
sad. Yeah, I was a little disappointed in Huntsville's music scene when that happened.
I'll save that. I'll save my comments on that for another episode.
Oh, okay. It was a fantastic show, by the way.
It was a fantastic show.
Yeah. I mean, we love the Orion. It's a great venue. The sound is great. But, Huntsville is still working on it as a music city.
I'll save my comments for another show.
Yeah. All right. We did want to get through one more thing before the end of the show. You said that you wanted to do a weekly pick. We haven't done one in a while.
No, we have not done a weekly pick in a long time.
I've got a few, but do you want to go first?
No, I want you to go first.
You want me to go
Yes.
first?
Yes, you
But
go.
I might steal yours, though, because I'm suspecting that it might be the same
No,
thing.
you don't have the same one I do.
Okay, well, I have one to go ahead of the one that I think might be the same one. So this is a little weird. Bear with me, guys. So about a week or two ago, before I went through my last round of travel, me and Sharla watched the last handful of episodes of Cobra Kai. And can I just, for the moment, tell you what a guilty pleasure that show is? Like, it is very cheaply done. Some of the dialogue is like really cheesy. It looks like it was done on like a cardboard set in Atlanta. It's kind of ridiculous that Atlanta sits in for California in that show. But my goodness, is that such an entertaining show. Maybe it's the elder millennial in me, because like that original Karate Kid movie was popular when I was just like, well, a little kid. That movie came out the same year I was born. I'm dating myself here. But man, I loved Cobra Kai. Like every season, it kind of got a little weird when it got a little overly dramatic sometimes, but that show ran for what, 5 years, and it was just banger after banger after banger.
So
I think it's a lot of nostalgia bait, but man, is it good nostalgia bait.
For 2 or 3 years now, my phone, your name in my phone has been Hubby Son, because that's what the wife had Daniel listed as in her phone. And I'm pretty sure your mom can say your name is from the Bible, but that was like the #1 movie the whole summer of like 84 or whatever. Yeah. Well, actually it was Ghostbusters, but
well, that was like a good one too.
A really popular movie when you were born, and like
there's no way it didn't influence things.
Right. I mean, come on.
Yeah. But look, guys, if you haven't watched that, it is worth going through the whole thing. It's a bit of a binge, but oh boy, if you are in your mid to late 30s, you'll love it. If you're younger than that, I don't know. I make no guarantees.
It's so good. It's so good. It's better than it deserved to be.
Like, oh, absolutely.
Like, you think it's going to be like so cheesy, and it is.
It is.
It is.
It absolutely is.
But also, like,
sometimes cheese is good, as our Kant will attest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My other pick is we finally broke down and started watching The White Lotus. We have not seen the first 2 seasons, so there's a couple of little references that are lost on us. Thankfully, Brooklyn is catching us up.
Well, I think that even though the references we don't necessarily get, I don't think you have to get them.
I don't think so.
No.
She might say otherwise, but at least she's telling us the backstory with some of those characters and things. But we had to break down and watch this one because it's set in Thailand, some places that we know. And man, it gets the look and feel of the place pretty accurate from what I've been able to see in the first couple of episodes. Plus the kind of like whodunit murder mystery is fun. So I get it why many of you love the show. I get it now.
I don't know that it's entirely accurate because the whole thing is set at, well, so far there's only been, 3 episodes?
Yeah.
But it looks like the whole thing so far is just set at a resort, but hopefully that'll change in episode 4 because it looks like it's
They're going to Bangkok.
Yeah, some parts of Bangkok. So hopefully we'll get to see a little bit more of Thailand.
We'll check back in with you and let you know what we think once they go to Bangkok.
Yeah.
So The White Lotus isn't the pick that I thought was going to be shared. You have something else?
I mean, I knew you was going to say that, so I didn't. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's yours?
Okay, so Crow Boys, that I fell in love with them last year at Bonnaroo. They were on the Who stage. They have released a new song, and it's called Bootstraps, and it is such an amazing song. So I've noticed this year at Bonnaroo, there's definitely not as much country/folk/Americana on the lineup. So I'm kind of waiting for that Outaroo/Who stage lineup to come out. But Crow Boys last year, I mean, I really, really fell in love with them. It's 2 brothers, and when they were growing up, they did traveling like music with their dad. They were actually in a traveling music family, and then the mom died, so it just became the brothers and the dad. And anyways, they have a new song out called Bootstraps, and just go listen to it. It's such a great, 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 great song.
Okay. I'm going to check that out tomorrow since it came with your hiking recommendation.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I think that covers it for this week. Thank you again to Kara for coming on and bestowing her jam band wisdom upon us. She's like one of the biggest experts we've had on the show in a long time. She knew her stuff, man. They don't call her the mayor of Goose Town for nothing.
No.
I'm trolling her at this point. But yeah, thank you, Kara. We appreciate you coming on. And again, I usually say this in the middle of the show, but let me say it at the end again this week. Thank you to our Patreons, because a lot of what you have contributed to is being put to work because we're really getting rolling with Totem right now. So I want you guys to really see what you have helped us accomplish. Come meet this year's scholarship class at Rue. And, treat your mentee well. If you got one that you're going to be matched up with, it's going to be a lot of fun. So again, guys, we started the show by saying this. There's less than 100 days to go. It's go time, guys. So be checking with your crew, check your stuff. It's that time. June is going to be here before you know it. So until then, you already know. Get out there and radiate positivity. We'll see you next week.
Bye.